Sometimes I think about comparative morality. Now that might sound complicated, but it really isn't. It's simply where we think about right and wrong in comparison to the behaviour of other people. And we all do this. We often do it without thinking. Let me give you some examples. When you got in trouble as a child, did you ever use the excuse, everyone else was doing it? Everyone else was throwing stones or making fun of someone or setting fire to things. Why am I the one getting in trouble? Everyone's doing it. I imagine that this excuse went down as well with your parents as it did with mine. Another example, if you're driving on the motorway, I'm sure you are more likely to break the speed limit if you see other people doing so. I remember a friend of mine once advised me that I should speed as much as I like, but aim to always be the second fastest car in the area. That way it would always be the other guy who got stopped by the police. Comparative morality, where our view of right and wrong is based on other people's behaviour. And we all do it a bit. We are all more likely to do things that are wrong if we see other people doing the same. We are all more likely to break the rules a little if we see other people breaking them a lot. But the commands of Scripture are not comparative. Jesus didn't say, love your neighbour just a little bit more than he loves you. The Bible doesn't say, don't steal a lot. Just make sure that you're stealing less than Trisha from HR. Jesus illustrates this, I think, at the start of John 8. Here, the religious leaders bring a woman caught in adultery, and the law says she should be stoned to death, as should the man she committed adultery with, but somehow he's nowhere to be seen. They ask Jesus, what should they do? And this is what he says. Let any one of you who is without sin be the first to throw a stone at her. Again, he stooped down and wrote on the ground. At this, those who heard began to go away one at a time, the older ones first, until only Jesus was left, with the woman still standing there. Jesus straightened up and asked her, Woman, where are they? Has no one condemned you? No one, she said. Then neither do I condemn you, Jesus declared. Go now and leave your life of sin. The teachers of the law came wanting to point a finger at someone they considered sinful, who they said deserved death for her sin. Here is a terrible person. But Jesus challenged them. Which one of you has never sinned? It wasn't about who had committed the worst sin, who deserved the biggest punishment. Well, she's much worse than we are, so let's all just punish her and we can go because we're not as naughty as her. There were just two options, sinful or sinless. Sin is a strange word. In our culture today, we've made it something different from what it was in the Bible. Maybe a guilty pleasure, something that's not good for us, but it's not really too bad either. In our passage in the Bible, sin is a way to describe the things we do which fall short of what God created us to be. And sin is serious because sin separates us from God. There is no, at least I'm not as bad as Trisha. At least I wasn't driving as fast as that other car. It's not comparative. Either we are in a right relationship with God, living exactly the way he wants us to be, or we are not. And none of us are perfect. None of us are without sin. Jesus is the only perfect one. And as with the woman in the story, he says, I'm not going to condemn you, but leave your life of sin. Try and live according to God's way. He has provided by his life, his death, his resurrection, a way from us to be free from our sin. So, for you in your thoughts and in your behaviour, don't measure yourself against what other people do. Look to God's standards. And when you mess up, as you will from time to time, seek forgiveness and know with confidence that our God is a God who forgives rather than condemns. Tomorrow we're going to be reading the rest of John 8 together, verses 31 to 59.